This Saturday, March 4th at 8 p.m. At the West End Cultural Center, they will be welcoming the Juno-nominated singer-songwriter and vocalist Barbara Lica. Known for her fun, thoughtful lyrics and beautiful and unique voice, Barbara Lica has established herself as a fixture on the North American jazz circuit. She's performed in New York at the iconic Birdland and Toronto's Kerner Hall, and has headlined at jazz festivals throughout the world, such as the Montreal Jazz Festival, the Vancouver Jazz Festival, and the Tokyo International Jazz Festival. And joining me here over Zoom to talk about her upcoming show at the West End, I am joined by Barbara Lica. Hey, Barbara, it's nice to meet you here over
Hello.
Zoom.
Nice to meet you
Mm,
too.
mm. I want to start the interview out by saying this has got to be one of the most fun interviews I've ever prepped for. I've been having tons of fun watching your videos for Girls Like Me, the food song, London Town, etc. There's so much fun to watch, and the music is great. Um, they also present you as somebody who really doesn't sweat the small stuff and somebody who just wants to have fun performing. Is that indeed the case?
Yeah, I feel like my whole mantra is, as long as I can get by doing what I love and they don't catch me and put me in artist jail, uh then I'm a successful musician. I just love doing what I do, and I feel like it's some kind of heist that's gone on too long. But I'm still doing it, and it's just so joyful and drama free. The band I tour with, that I've been touring with since 2014, they feel like family at this point.
Mm.
Um, and I think, for better for worse, a lot of that comes out on stage. Maybe sometimes for worse, we've had bickers. Uh, but uh but yeah, it's just such a dream. I'm so grateful that I get to do this, and I've had so much support in so many directions, even over the course of the pandemic, from government bodies to keep doing this. So it's, yeah, what can I say? No complaints.
Yeah. I was also watching the video for for the launch of your album, That's What I Do. And you said your influences were Doris Day and Ella Fitzgerald, but you also sang along to your parents' records. I have to ask, when you're writing songs, do you have these singers always in the back of your mind? And your own stuff is not straight up jazz. There's jazz there, but there's also some influence of acoustic folk, and there's some even pop influences. Who are some of the songwriters that you turn to for influences?
Oh man, the list is so long. I really did start almost squarely in jazz, and I started with those artists, and I love the music of, Gershwin and Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, and I loved the storytelling aspect to it. And I used to make a game sort of reimagining how things were set, or I guess, rearranging things so that they would tell the specific story I wanted to tell. Um,
Mm.
and it really was just the storytelling that I loved and got me into music. And then I started discovering other genres that had a similar effect. I never realized how much of that, when you listen to pop radio and pop country, you hear a very different thing versus old Nashville country.
Right.
And I completely fell in love with old country, and I've spent so much time now in Nashville. I'm a huge fan of even songwriters like, Casey Musgraves, I think is unbelievable.
Mm.
Maren Morris, I'm a huge fan. So I love aspects of that. And then there's so many great folk singers doing that just retain that kind of that storytelling aspect that sometimes I think is missing from a lot of contemporary pop. I mean, even in
Right.
classical music, some of my favorite stuff is Berlioz. Like, give me give me a
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
and I'm a happy camper. So yeah, I mean, those are some of my influences there, and I also have, collaborated with some amazing songwriters over time. I grew up being a big fan of Prozac. Do you remember that Canadian band?
No, sorry, it might be before my time. I might be aging myself, but
This was in the late 90s, early 2000s. Their big songs were, "Sucks to Be You," I know, and "Straight I Got a Strange Disease." But that was their whole thing. They had this thing where they had an ongoing story of Simon and Milo, and Simon was always completely heartbroken. and they would do these songs that would go through the story of his quest for love. And I was the biggest fan of this when I was in elementary school and high school. And I started working with this guitarist named James Bryan and writing with him a lot. And I didn't find out until I was about 3 songs in that he was one half of that band because they had pseudonyms.
Okay.
So now I've written a bunch of songs with James, who's a songwriter that I really looked up to, loving this music so much. It's really niche Canadiana.
which actually sort of takes me into my next question. You got a Bachelor of Music from the University of Toronto,
Yes.
but I was reading about you. You also have a major in human biology.
How did
Does
you
that,
find out about that? Is that still written anywhere?
uh, first of all, is it true? And second of all, does it have an influence on your own songwriting?
I mean, does it have an influence? Has an influence on how much I bother the people in my life every time I try to lecture them on the science of the various diseases passing around. But no, I do have a major. So I have a Bachelor of Music, and at the University of Toronto, Bachelor of Music is a double major. It's like a specialist, they call it.
Right.
So I got an additional major, a third major in human biology. Because at the time, my parents, I came from parents who are both professional musicians, and music was kind of the family industry. So even though I loved it so much, I wanted to, if you'd believe it, rebel against the family biz. And I studied human biology as a form of rebellion. Um,
That's hilarious.
and it just bothered everybody. My parents were mad about it. They were saying, you have to try. We know you like music. You can't avoid it just to spite us. And I remember I would be in jazz combo. I'd signed up for these really late chemistry labs, and I'd
Yeah.
be in jazz combo, and I'd leave 10 minutes early to put on my lab coat and run across campus. And I know other students, after the fact, I found out they thought I wasn't very serious about music.
Just
But
rebelling.
I was rebelling. But you know what? It was a beautiful time, and it was taught so well, and it's informed a lot of my life and my love
Mhm.
of just learning,
Yeah.
learning for the sake of learning. I mean, I signed up last month for a woodworking class.
Yeah.
And I built my baby a little chair. So it's, if anything, it's helped me pursue learning and find more fun stories to tell in music.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. So the concert at the West End Cultural Center is on the 4th, this Saturday. It's the last concert of your tour of Manitoba. Before that, you're in Minnedosa on the 1st, Neepawa on the 2nd, and Pinawa on March 3rd. How did this tour come together? I mean, you're visiting some places where artists don't very frequently go. Like, how did this tour come together?
Yeah, I showcased for the Manitoba Arts Network,
Okay.
and they create routing between different venues to make it possible for us to kind of fly down at one time and do all these things. And I really, really love playing in more rural areas and intimate concerts, especially because we're touring a brand new album, brand new project. It's a bit
Mhm.
of a wonky one that crosses a lot of genres, maybe more than I usually do. And I just love that safety and intimacy of these spaces, where I've said it before, I find that these concerts, everybody feels like family in the living room.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
that's a great lead up into Winnipeg, and a great way to just be in Manitoba in the first place, since it's my first time ever being in the province. It's the last province on my Canada bingo card.
Wow. Wow.
My piano player, who I'm very close with, he's been talking about it nonstop since 2014. Um, and so when we were finally going, he was both excited and saying, I just want you to know that this is the province that made me. So I'm excited, but I'm also sorry.
Okay.
Um,
Um, Yeah, so your concert on Saturday night, you alluded to it before. I'm presuming you're going to be playing some tracks off your EP, Imposter Syndrome. Is that
Yes.
right?
We're playing
Uh,
every track on Imposter Syndrome.
okay.
Yeah, we're playing all of them. We're playing a few from previous albums, and then we're actually going to debut a couple songs from an upcoming project that I'm working on. I like
Mm,
to mix in a couple brand new things, including a song. This will be the longest I've been away from my son since going back on tour and having a baby in the first place. He's only 17 months.
mm,
So I've been writing a few songs for him, and I'll be featuring one of those at these concerts for the first time.
mhm. Anything off your other albums, such as That's What I Do and Kissing You? Any of that material?
I will be playing Coffee Shop, which is from
Mm.
I'm Still Learning, which is the song about meeting my husband. It was the worst first date I've ever been on. Um, took me 12 years to marry that guy. Very strange guy. Uh, and what else will we be playing? We'll be playing a whole bunch of stuff from You're Fine, my most recent one, like The Birds and
Mhm.
the Bees,
Mm.
um, and Let You Go, which
Right.
sounds like a love song, but it's actually about my cat. Uh, I have many great loves, including my cat Cookie. Um, yeah, we're gonna kind of be playing a few of the greatest hits mixed in there. And
Mhm.
then just for safe measure, because I know there's a lot of French speakers in Winnipeg, we're gonna have a little bit of French in there too.
And
Just
Edith Piaf?
a little bit. A petit peu. Yeah.
Amazing. Can you talk about your band and who's in it and who's going to be joining you on stage on Saturday
Oh,
night?
I'd love to. I have Joel Byzantine, the Winnipegger that I mentioned, on the keys, and he's singing as well, is our musical director. Mark Godfrey, who's from London, Ontario, he is going to be playing bass.
Mhm.
Amazing bass player, was a winner of the Montreal Grand Prix a few years ago. Um, we also have Tom Fleming from Toronto playing guitar. And we have Will Fisher, our resident East Coasters, Nova Scotian, uh, on the drums, and he will let you know it. He's from Nova Scotia. And yeah, those are my four guys and me from Toronto, born and raised. And oh, Mark on the bass will also be singing. So we have piano, bass, guitar, drums. We have backup vocals. Joel is bringing his accordion along. Otherwise, how can we do Edith Piaf?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Gotta have the squeeze box.
we gotta have, if it makes it. We did break it on one flight before.
Mm,
They always think we're hiding things inside
right. Yeah, yeah.
inside
Because of
the
the
piping, or yeah, it's yeah. That and Tom's pedal board always get pulled over.
all the wires, maybe.
Well, he just has a really complex pedal board because he's kind of a loose cannon, my guitar player. He just has a million pedals. He does not ask me, and he just messes around with sounds and and
Nice.
different synths. So he has this scary looking thing that is always at every show.
There's a couple people that are going to be opening for you on Saturday night. Winnipeg singer Aaron Prop and guitarist Larry White. Have you ever heard them, or have you ever met them before, or
I
is
have
this going
not
to be your
met
first?
them, and Jorge, the AD at the West End Cultural Center, introduced their music to me. So now I'm
Mm,
a fan.
mm.
Wish I heard of them earlier, and I'm really excited to hear them live. So that's such a treat that they're going to be there. I'm so glad that they agreed to do that.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. I want to talk about the EP Imposter Syndrome. It's not a straight up like there's straight up rhythm, but there's also one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was there's these great keyboard patches that sort of support your voice, and there's also string arrangements. Who came up with the arrangements? Who did them? And can you talk a little bit about how the recording sessions went?
Yeah, this was a really weird one for me. I back in 2020, I put out this song when you couldn't go into studio anymore called Hello from My Basement. And it was about my pandemic experience. And because I was alone, I produced it myself. And it was my
Mm,
first time kind of working the production capacity and also recording vocals from home. So I realized that that was a thing that I could do. And when I set about making this project, I realized that I didn't want to go into studio and have this unified thing anymore. I wanted to sit and live in every song. So every song is recorded with different musicians,
mm,
um, with different co-producers. Joel, who I mentioned, our musical director, I produced, he's also new to production. I produced Girls Like Me and Blue Monday with him. And we
mm.
just brought in whoever we thought was right. We would just live in that song for a month or two, no matter who
Wow.
it was. I worked on Take Care of You with Christine Bougie, who's the guitarist and lap steel player for Bahamas.
Mm.
And I am Dio. You want to talk about songwriters I love Bahamas so much. Yeah, so I worked with her to, and we just kind of did that in her studio that she has. She has a sort of space that she works in that kind of looks like it kind of looks like the sitting area outside of a music studio.
Mm.
And and yeah, we made this really intimate, beautiful thing that we sort of layered piece by piece. And everything was layered like that. We'd add something and we'd say, okay, maybe I'd like to hear this. And people would send us recordings remotely. We did very little, or I did very little recording that happened with me present. It was a lot of just sending things back and forth or
Right.
asking, say, a drummer for samples. So if I wanted, I could I could put some cymbals or crashes on or washes on different parts of the song.
Right.
Um,
Huh.
yeah. Who for strings we had, so I had this song Sour Women, which is my kind of ode to ageism. It was written because I was in this kind of music panel where somebody was recruiting young female musicians between the ages of 17 and 25. And I asked him, kind of tongue in cheek, I said, "Sir, I'm so concerned. Can you please tell me what happens to us after 25?"
Ah,
And yeah, it was a very hilarious moment that made me go and write this kind of art song poem. And I originally have always just done it out of time at the piano. And I decided that it would be beautiful to have strings. And I contacted Drew Jureka, who is one of the most amazing string players and string arrangers in Canada. He's done a bunch of strings for Dua Lipa, actually, on her albums.
okay. Yeah.
And Drew sort of had me sing out the shape of what I would want those string arrangements to be, and then he himself with different violins and violas layered on a string arrangement, and he uses
Uh,
different violins so that it sounds like different people.
yeah. Right. 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 Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you hope people will take away from Saturday night's performance once they've taken in the show?
I I hope that people kind of I don't think I put out necessarily what you're supposed to put out as an artist. I think you're supposed to put out that you're cool and you have it all together and you're a mega success and like, oh, but to hold their hand or be within 10 meters of them. Like, I don't
Yeah.
put any of that out. Like I'm a big nerd. I like board game night and I'm weird and I put my foot in my mouth all the time. And I still just kind of do this and let myself dream and kind of grapple with where I fit in. And I hope, listening to these songs, because that's what these songs are. These songs are just, seven different perspectives on feeling left out. um yeah, I just hope that people kind of look at that and feel like there's a place for them and they feel like they're part of it. They feel like they're in on it and they feel like it's okay to be a little bit weird and awkward.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to wrap the conversation up by asking if people want to download your music or buy a CD. Remember those? Where can people go to get access to your stuff?
Well, you can stream my music on virtually any streaming platform that there is. And you can also purchase physical albums either on Bandcamp. There's also a link to Bandcamp on my page at barbaralicamusic.com. Or
Mhm.
even better, you could just come to one of these
Yeah.
shows.
Yes, that's where I was going.
Remember,
Yeah.
this is so much more fun than the Jets game.
Yes. Jets. Who are they?
Who? Jets who?
Barbara, all the best on Saturday night. My wife and I are planning on being there and looking forward to it. It's going to be a super fun, entertaining show. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And for our Classic 107 listeners, the show with Barbara Lica is on Saturday, March 4th at the West End Cultural Center. It starts at 8 o'clock. For details, go to classic107.com and check out the article about the concert that I have posted there. And I've included links to some of Barbara Lica's videos and to her website. So you can find all that by going to classic107.com. Barbara, thanks again. This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.